What it do? What's up, y'all? It's your boy Elijah James for Elijah James TV, and today I'll be giving you guys my first breakdown on a UFC card. Today we'll be going over UFC 319 taking place in Chicago in the United Center. Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat for the middleweight championship belt. I'm excited for this one, y'all. Like, this is a big UFC card. I've been waiting on this one for a while now. But before we get started, if you guys don't mind leaving a like, leaving a comment, sharing this, posting this, spread this thing out, whatever you gotta do, let's go ahead and spread this channel. We're trying to grow in a short amount of time, so I appreciate everybody that's been following along. But let's get this thing growing. So I'm gonna make this really quick because I know the fight is tomorrow, so I'm not gonna waste too much of y'all's time. But right now, let's go over some of the picks that I had earlier in the week. So these are some of the picks that I had earlier in the week. You guys take a look. I'm only gonna be going over the main card. If you want the full card prediction, just go over to my Instagram at Elijah James TV to look at what I predicted for the whole card. But for the sake of this video and keeping it short, I'm only gonna be doing only the main card. So how the way I'm gonna be breaking this down, I'll be going over both fighters' strengths and weaknesses, what I'm thinking the fight is gonna kind of pan out and look like, and then also who I think is gonna win, of course. So let's get this thing started. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. So first up, we have Asakuro versus Tim Elliot in a flyweight matchup. So first up on the list, let's take a look at Asakuro. He's a new fighter in the UFC. He's only had one fight, and that was against Pantoja. In his first debut, he had a main event against arguably the best flyweight in the world, probably the best flyweight in history if you're not talking about Mighty Mouse. But that was his first fight. But before that, he came over from Risen, where he was dominating. He was held the belt for a long amount of time. He has nasty KOs. I went and did my research on his time with Ryzen, and from what I've seen, he's a very experienced fighter. He's fast, he's twitchy, he's kind of big for the division, kind of long, but he uses that to his advantage. He fights at a range, so he's very rangy, he's very fast twitch, he's very long, and even in that fight against Pantoja, you seen that he was catching Pantoja with some decent strikes. Like, he was darting in, darting out, because Pantoja, obviously, he wants to get a hold of you. But for a short amount of time, obviously until the second round, he was able to keep Pantoja at bay for the most part. And even when Pantoja did get him, you can see that he's also a strong grappler. As I said before, Pantoja is arguably one of the greatest flyweights of all time. So if you were able to hold your own with Pantoja, I think that's pretty decent. A lot of people look at that Pantoja fight and they just remember him getting choked out in the second round. And of course, it's not a good look for your first UFC debut. But if you go back and actually watch that fight, he didn't look that bad. He was able to grapple with Pantoja for a little bit until obviously getting choked out. So for the cons of Asakuro, one thing I will say, and this is just from the Pantoja fight and some of the other fights I did see, he's not really the biggest fan of getting pressure. Like, he doesn't like fighting off the back foot. So if Tim Elliot moves forward on him, that could present some problems. He's also not the best at defending himself when he's trading shots. So there was a couple clips during the Pantoja fight where they was just start throwing, going at it, and he wasn't really moving his head, and he was getting caught a couple of times. Don't get me wrong, he's throwing heat back as well, but he was getting caught himself. So that was a quick breakdown of Asakuro. Let's go ahead and move over to now Tim Elliot. And a lot of people I keep seeing say that he is Tim the mechanic. He looks like your average Joe that work at AutoZone, that help you get your carburetor and so on and so forth. But don't get me wrong, he is a good fighter. He has been at the top of the division for some time now, but he's 38. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years, and he's 38, and he's coming back and fighting a dude that just fought Pantoja. I do not like that for him at all. To describe his fight style, he's an awkward fighter, but in a good way. Like, it's very unorthodox. He's doing all types of crazy shit in the ring. He's throwing up his leg, doing all types of random stuff. In my opinion, and this might be wrong, but I think he's kind of like a more technical Sean Strickland. Like, he's a more, like, and I don't know if that makes sense, but in terms of he's throwing a lot of leg kicks, he's moving forward, he's keeping his guard up, he's just moving forward at all times. But when he's moving forward, his hands are down a lot, and that's going to present a lot of problems, especially with a fighter like Asakuro. One thing that he thrives in, especially in some of the fights that I've seen, he wants chaos. He welcomes the chaos, because that's where he's going to get his big hits. That's where he's going to be able to get takedowns as well. He's really good at takedowns and having ground control with the fighter. But as I said before, this man is 38 years old. He's been out of fighting for the past 2 years, almost 3 years almost, and the man is 38. And if you guys know anything about combat sports, This is a young man's game. I mean, in very rare cases, you'll see somebody, you know, of older status coming in and, you know, doing what they need to do, especially after some time off. But I don't know about Tim Elliot. I think he might get chinned in this fight. So for my first prediction for the first fight of the card, I think Asakuro, he redeems himself after that Pantoja fight. And I think he comes in and knocks out Tim Elliot. All right, next up on the card, moving up, we got Michael Venom Paige versus Jared Cannonier. And I'm really excited for this one. These are two fighters that I keep up with a lot. And I'm just kind of excited to see like what that looks like stylistically. Let's first start with Jared Cannonier. We know what Cannonier is. Big power, big power. He has good boxing. He's gonna be moving forward. He's a good counter striker. And he also has great clinch work. If he gets a hold of you, he's gonna work you on the cage. He's gonna try to bring you down. And he's gonna use his size to an advantage. Because let's not forget, this man was a heavyweight. He was a heavyweight at one point. Now he dropped down to light heavyweight and now he's a middleweight. And he is a physical specimen. Like, I do not know for the life of me how he's even able to get down to this weight. But it seems like he still maintained his power even though he moved down. He moves forward at all times. He has very heavy kicks. He has good cardio. However, it's kind of like the same situation with Tim Elliot. Instead of him being 38, Jared Cannonier is now 41 years old. And that's not good. Do not get me wrong. Like, Jared Cannonier, he's a great fighter, but he's just getting older and older. And the more fights that keep passing, it seems like he's kind of losing his touch. Don't get me wrong. His last fight that he had with RoboCop, he won that fight in spectacular fashion. But let's not act like RoboCop wasn't beating his ass. Like, let's keep it a whole buck. He was beating that man's ass. He got dropped multiple times. He was high-key losing the fight, but RoboCop just gassed out. And that's what RoboCop is kind of known for. He's known to gas out. He got tired and he got TKO'd, so there's nothing you could do with that. He struggles with those rangy strikers, and I'm referring to mainly the fight that he had with Israel Adesanya. That whole fight, if I'm being completely honest, I was falling asleep. Because it seemed like nothing was happening, but that's kind of Izzy's game. He's going to keep you at bay. He's going to pick you apart from the outside, and if you can't get to him, that's what he's going to do for a whole 5 rounds. And that's what I kind of see what's going to happen with MVP, Michael Venom Paige. So with Michael Venom Paige, he came over from PFL. He fought in Bellator. This is now his 3rd or 4th UFC fight. And he is a fast point / karate fighter. He has that awkward sideward stance. He's gonna bounce up and down. He's gonna use the cage to his advantage, and he's gonna pick his spots. He darts in for a shot. He has fast combos. And I would say he has power in his hands, but I don't know necessarily because we haven't seen that big knockout in the UFC. But you could tell that when he hits you, it stings. You could see in that Kevin Holland fight, Kevin Holland did not like that at all. We know Kevin Holland to be the clown, the jokester. He's talking to you, he's talking trash in the middle of the fight. He did not look like he was having a good time at all with MVP. The thing about this fight that's the most interesting is that MVP has not fought a fighter like Cannonier. Big, brute force, big power in his hands, moving forward at all time, can grab you up, can wrestle. His first couple of fights, he's been fighting kind of people not necessarily similar towards him, but they're not Jared Cannonier. His first fight with Kevin Holland, we know what he is. He's a striker, he's a submission artist. But, you know, he'll stand up on the feet and he's not, you know, charging forward. He's going to pick his shots. His next fight after that, he fought Ian Gary. And Ian Gary, he's pretty much a striker. But one thing I will give Ian Gary, he used his grappling to his advantage. Even though that was one of the worst fights I ever seen, and I personally think Ian Gary should have lost, he used his grappling to his advantage. So that's the weak point that I think Jared Cannonier can get to MVP. It's just a matter of catching him. And if you want me to be honest, I think this fight is going to the distance. MVP wins by decision. I don't think Jared Cannonier is going to be able to catch him. Like I said, the man is 41 years old. He hasn't been looking good in these past recent fights. And I think MVP is just going to be too fast on him. Don't get me wrong. MVP isn't no spring chicken either. I believe he's only 38. But you could just tell that he still has his athleticism. He's going to be able to use the ring. You're not in the apex where it's a smaller ring and you know, only confined to a little space. You got the whole cage, and I think MVP is going to use that to his advantage. Going to frustrate Cannonier. I think MVP takes this one by decision. All right, let's move up to the next fight on this card. Up next, we have Carlos Prates versus Jeff Neal. This is a really interesting fight stylistically. We got two boxing heavy fighters that's going to be clashing, and I think somebody going to sleep. if I'm being completely honest, somebody's gonna go to sleep. So starting with Carlos Prates, we know who Prates is. He's fighting out of the Fighting Nerds gym. He got heavy hands, but he has a heavy Muay Thai style. He's gonna throw some knees, he's gonna throw some kicks. He's gonna move forward at all times, and he's just gonna pick you apart, really, just break you down. Like I said, whether it be with kicks, whether it be with knees, he's gonna pick his shots. He has a nice 1-2, and when he connects, you feel it. Like some fighters, they throw a lot and they connect, but it's not really doing much to anybody. When he touches you, you gonna feel it. So one thing I will say is that he is coming off of that loss against Ian Gary not too long ago. And he was kind of getting dominated in that fight until the 5th round. And I like seeing that from him in the 5th round because that shows that he's resilient. He's not just gonna give up on himself. And he nearly put Ian Gary out. So that just goes to show you that what type of fighter he is. And I like seeing that out of him. Even though it was a loss, there was a lot of positives to take from that fight. Now flipping over to the other side, we got Jeff Neal. He's a UFC vet, been in the UFC for 10+ years. And he's a boxer, man. He's gonna throw them things. He got power in his hands. He just came off of a win against Vicente Luque where he just knocked him out. Very good fighter. Southpaw, he throws really good combos. He has slick head movement. He's a counter striker. And he also has strong clinching if he gets a hold of you. But I'm not gonna lie, I watched plenty of Jeff Neal fights and he's just a boxer. He's literally just a boxer that can throw kicks from time to time, but he's just a boxer. I'm not saying it in a way to where I think he's bad, because I think Jeff Neal is one of the better fighters in that division, but he's just a boxer. You know what you're gonna get out of Jeff Neal. He has a mean 1-2. He's gonna move forward up on you, and he's gonna throw them things, and he got power in his hands, but outside of that, there's nothing else really special to his game. I feel like it's gonna get into that 2nd round when both fighters get comfortable, and they just gonna start picking their shots. And if you want me to pick who I think is gonna land the better shot between the two, I think Prates is gonna find that chin. Like I said, Prates, he likes throwing leg kicks, he likes throwing knees. He could hit him with a knee to the body and drop him that way. But like I said, both of these guys are boxers. They both got heavy hands. I think this is gonna be a scrap. They're just gonna meet in the middle and throw them things. And if you want my opinion, I think it's gonna be Prates by knockout. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Now we get to the co-main event of the evening, and this is an interesting one. We got Lerone Murphy taking on an up-and-comer. He's a new fighter. His name is Aaron Pico. He's coming out of Bellator. So let's start with Aaron Pico first. This dude, if you put on his highlights, you realize the type of power this man has. He is sleeping people left and right. He is dropping them like it's nothing, and he's moving through them. And the crazy thing about it is, he's a wrestler. And he was nationally touted out of high school and just chose to go into MMA and just chose to go into the fight game. That took him to Bellator, where he's been kind of just running through the organization. But now he finally gets his time to shine in the UFC. And in terms of his fighting style, like I said, he's been knocking people out left and right. He presses forward. He's gonna move forward on you. He got serious power in his hand. He has a mean hook that if he connects with you, you might be going to sleep. He throws a lot of elbows. He's also a body snatcher. I like that a lot. Like, he's gonna work the body. He's not just a head hunting. He's not just gonna be throwing headshots. He also works the body. He also has good dirty boxing, and what dirty boxing is when they clinch up together, and there's a lot of elbows, there's a lot of knees. So he has a lot of good dirty boxing, but he also does start fast, and he has great ground and pound. All the fights that I've seen, majority of the fights that I've seen, I should say, he's kind of a first round finisher. He gets him out of there. He wastes no time. The cons I see with Aaron Pico, though, he does leave himself open when he is trading those big shots. Don't get me wrong, he has came out on the right end of that more often than not, still walking away unscathed, but he hasn't fought anybody. I mean, no disrespect to Bellator, no disrespect to PFL, but those guys aren't UFC.
This guy?
And he also hasn't fought in 18 months. I don't think that's necessarily the biggest deal, but that just shows that you've been inactive. I'm pretty sure he's still training. He looks like he's in incredible shape, but you haven't fought in 18 months, so that gives me a little cause to pause. Now let's move on to Lerone Murphy, who stepped in 2 weeks' notice, and I kind of like that out of him because it shows it's telling the UFC that he wants it. He's not just sitting around just waiting for a phone call. No, oh, you got this new guy that y'all want to, showcase in the UFC. Let me take him on in a co-main event spot too. So it's kind of like some big stakes riding on Lerone Murphy. But Lerone Murphy, he's a well-rounded technical striker. He's gonna pick you apart from the outside. He's very fast, so he can dart in and out. He's gonna keep his hands up, very technical. And he has great footwork. Another thing I like out of Lerone Murphy, he throws a lot of leg kicks as well. So if he can't get to you with the punch, he's gonna start softening you up and start taking out that lead leg with those good leg kicks. And then another thing that I've seen out of him, he has great takedown defense and grappling from the bottom. There's been a couple of situations where Lerone Murphy has caught himself at the bottom position while on the ground, and he still manages to fight out of it. He still finds a way to scramble back up and get back to the feet, and even sometimes even get into dominant position. So I really do like Lerone Murphy. I don't like that sometimes he doesn't look for the knockout. It kind of makes for sometimes a boring fighter, but he knows how to win. He does what he needs to do to go ahead and win. So for some cons for Lerone Murphy, he kind of struggles with those wrestlers, as I was saying before. Don't get me wrong. He knows how to fight out of it, and he knows how to get back on his feet. But if a wrestler is holding you down for a certain amount of time and always taking you down, that doesn't make for a necessarily good look on the judges. So it does make for an interesting fight because, as I said, Pico is a wrestler. He was known nationally coming out of high school as a really good wrestler, and he still carried that over into Bellator, but he's just been known for his hands nowadays. So Lerone Murphy has the UFC experience. This is his first UFC fight. You're fighting in a co-main event in your first fight. Like, I'm not even a UFC fighter, and I know that'll give me jitters. And then another thing that I've been seeing from these guys coming from PFL and Bellator, i.e. Patchy Mix and freaking Patricio Pitbull, there's no way that I'm betting on the dude coming into the UFC in his first fight. In this spot, I can't do it. Like, he may beat Lerone Murphy, don't get me wrong, but if you ask me where am I putting my money and who I'm betting on, I can't go with Aaron Pico. And the thing that's crazy to me on the betting side, Aaron Pico is the favorite. You rarely see that. Usually the dude coming into the UFC is usually the underdog, but he's coming into this fight as the favorite, which speaks to the talent that Aaron Pico has. But as I said, he hasn't really fought anybody, and I'm not going to put my chips on some dude that we haven't seen fight in the UFC versus Lerone Murphy, who has fought the who's who in the UFC in that division. So if you want my take, I think this one does go to decision. Both are technically sound strikers. There might be a little bit of wrestling out of Pico, so some clock is going to get chewed. I think it's going to be Lerone Murphy by decision. And now we make it to the main event where everybody has been waiting for. Middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis out of South Africa taking on the middleweight boogeyman Khamzat the Wolf Chimaev. I've been waiting for this fight ever since January. Like, as soon as I seen that it was booked and it was one of the upcoming fights for this summer, I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be a banger card. It makes for an interesting fight because one thing I'll say about both of these fighters, they'll literally die in that ring. Both of them will literally die in that ring. So let's start with Khamzat. So I'm not going to lie, I wasn't the biggest Khamzat guy. I'd heard about him, but I didn't really do my research on him like that until this fight. And let me just say this. That motherfucker's scary, bro. He's getting people out of there relentlessly. It's relentless pressure. As soon as the bell rings, he's shooting immediately. He's trying to drag you to the ground, and 90% of the time, outside of maybe in that second and third round with Usman, but most of the time, he's getting you to the ground. And when he has you to the ground, he's not just laying on you and just, trying to win the ground control time. No, he's trying to take you out. He's trying to get you out of there. And I kind of like that because we get a lot of these grapplers, a lot of these wrestlers, they just want to lay on you and get a decision win. No, he's trying to take you out. Another thing that I noticed with him on the ground with his ground control, he has great wrist control. They call it the Dagestani handcuffs. I do like that. So he's controlling the hands, keeping you from fighting him off, while simultaneously punching your face in. He has one punch power. We've seen what he did with GM3 with that one punch power, with that one punch shot. I kind of feel bad for my boy GM3. He's also on this card in the prelims. But as I said before, he always walks people down. He's never going backwards. He could pick up and slam. He's strong. A video came out earlier this week of where him and DC, before fights, they always clown with each other and joke with each other. This motherfucker was able to pick up 400-pound DC and sling him around like a rag doll. I ain't never seen DC get slung around like that. And keep in mind, this is a middleweight. DC was a former heavyweight. And like I said, he's even heavier now as a commentator. And he picked him up like nothing. Another thing that I like about his ground game, he uses ground and pound to get to the sub. He's going to punch your face in, so you more worried about covering up your face, but then that leaves your neck open. That leaves the elbow open. That leaves your leg open. And he's going to look for that submission. So if he's not getting you out with straight ground and pound, he's going to try to get you out with a submission. So the thing with Khamzat, when he first came into the UFC, he came in as a welterweight. I have no idea how this man made it at welterweight. So for the life of me, I have no idea how he made welterweight. At welterweight, he had his issues, but for the couple of fights I did see him at middleweight, he looks better, man. He looks stronger. He looks faster. He looks way more dangerous. The only thing that is in question is the gas tank, because even when he was at welterweight, there was some question marks around his gas tank. Now that you put on an extra 15 pounds, we're going to see what that gas tank looks like. So I wouldn't necessarily call them cons, but the one quote-unquote flaws that I did see in Khamzat's game is that he does have some issues when he is fighting somebody with capable stand-up. We seen it at the welterweight division when he fought Gilbert Burns, which was an all-time classic. Them boys was going at it. And then we also seen it with Usman. And Usman, he's a world-class wrestler. He's not really well known for his hands, but you know, he's a very capable striker, and he gave Khamzat some issues. And keep in mind, Usman came into that middleweight fight on 2 weeks' notice. And in my opinion, Usman is not a middleweight. He's a welterweight. He's a true welterweight. So not only did Usman come in on 2 weeks' notice, he fought at middleweight. That's not really his class. I think he's more of a welterweight, if anything. He's one of the welterweight goats. So now if we move on to Dricus, Mr. DDP himself, this man's going to win by pulling out a hammer out of his back pocket and hitting him over the head. We've seen all the memes. He's gonna win by falling piano, so on and so forth. But in all seriousness, DDP is a capable challenger. The man is relentless. He will die in that ring, and he always finds a way to win. When it looks like he's losing, he literally just outdogs people and finds a way to win. I seen it with my own eyes. I was watching that Israel Adesanya fight, and I'm not gonna lie, I was rooting for Israel Adesanya because I'm an Adesanya fan, so I was kind of waiting to see, Adesanya get that win, and he was winning that fight. Like, anybody watching would tell you that Israel Adesanya was winning that fight. But some way, somehow, this man DDP found a way to take him down to the ground and choke him out. And when you see stuff like that, you can't do nothing but just commend him. So to describe DDP's fight style, he's like that drunk bro dude at the bar. Like, he's just gonna throw. Like, he fights so awkward. You hear other fighters always talking like he fights ugly. It's so unorthodox, but he makes it work. Like, you don't expect some of the times he's throwing his punches. He throws it at the weirdest times, but that makes for a good stand-up game, especially if you use it to your advantage. Because sometimes he will use his striking to go ahead and get people down to the ground, where he's very strong at as well. The only difference is, though, this fight, you fighting Chimaev. So I don't know how taking him to the ground is going to work for you, buddy. So a lot of people have been pointing to the Derek Brunson fight with DDP where he was struggling on the ground, but that was way earlier in his career. DDP is a different animal now, and I think that I would assume that he worked on his grappling and his wrestling, which is probably more of a far cry than that Derek Brunson fight. If you want my honest opinion, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I have been flipping back and forth on this fight. One day I'm telling myself DDP, another day I'm telling myself Khamzat, another day I'm telling myself DDP. I can't make up my mind. So I'm gonna give y'all my live reaction to who I think wins this main event. So after doing the research and after thinking on it and going back and forth for a couple of days, I actually think I'm gonna go with Khamzat. So earlier in the week in my prediction, I picked DDP, but I was going off of the fact of like, oh, Khamzat's never been in this situation. We don't know what he's gonna look like if it gets to the third round, fourth round, fifth round. And even DDP has said that himself. He was like, if it gets to them later rounds, then what? But the only thing is, though, is I don't know if it's getting to those later rounds. Like, this man Khamzat is scary, y'all. Like, he is relentless. He's not gonna stop until he knows that you are out. Now, if DDP finds a way to survive them first 2 rounds and it gets over to the third and fourth and fifth, then we talking. But I'm not so sure that's gonna get that far, y'all. So if you want my official prediction on this fight, I think it's gonna be Khamzat by TKO, beating down on DDP, and we have a new champion in the middleweight division. But that's it, y'all. That's this card, UFC 319. I know this kind of felt a little rushed. I was kind of trying to hurry up and get this video put together because the fight is, coming on this Saturday. I am making this video a little bit later in the week. In the future, I'm gonna try to make this video a lot sooner. And I'm being completely real with y'all, I needed a haircut. I'm not trying to come back on camera how the way I looked for that Steelers Jaguars breakdown. I was looking rough. Like, I get mad looking at that video. So sorry that this video felt a little quick, but I did want to get this video out to y'all if you guys wanted to make some pics before we get to the actual fight on Saturday. That's gonna do it, guys. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at ElijahJamesTV. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, share it to your friends, share it to your MMA people that think they know MMA, but they really don't until they watch my video. And let's go ahead and make some of this money. But that's gonna do it for me, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.